right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Please check out the Benverse, guys. It's the channels unite. All the channels over there. We are all uniting together to remember our friend Ben. Dave, welcome back. How are you
Thank.
today, sir?
Oh, I am great. Getting the chance to talk about Lost every week with you is truly a treat. And for the first time in my involvement on this show, I have a reason to talk about the Quans for 40 minutes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Usually
And
it's
this
like
one,
we're talking about Saeed. But what are Jin and Sun doing?
absolutely, man. Definitely one of the best couples on the show for sure. Easily. Easily. Yes, ready to get into this episode. So, guys, yeah, this is episode 17. It is, I'm slipping. What's the name again?
In translation.
Translation. Right. So, yeah, guys, so we are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. So, please join us on this journey to 1,000 subscribers, guys. Please hit that like and subscribe button for us. But, yeah, Dave, let's get right into this, man. Where do you want to start?
Well, just before we even get into the episode, can I just say,
Okay.
in preparation for today, I always do copious notes. And I talked to you earlier about how these notes of mine this week, they're bad. They're not the most in-depth notes I've ever taken, but this is an episode I love. But in order to
Yes.
find the behind-the-scenes stuff, usually a lot of Googling involved. In
Okay.
translation, maybe the hardest Lost episode to Google. Because Lost
Yeah.
in translation, Lost in translation, in translation, comma, Lost. All of that. It's just Bill Murray all day, every day.
Oh, gotcha. Yep. Okay. That makes sense.
But that was my
That's
personal
funny.
struggle for the last couple days. So I just wanted to make sure that was
Oh,
shared to the
wow.
group.
That's funny. Yeah, because no, it's funny because I was looking for a picture of them for the thumbnail. I showed you the thumbnail I want to do for the episode, and yeah, it was really hard to find a good. A lot of it was either with their backs or with them with everybody else or other people, or it was weird. It wasn't easy to get a picture of just them two, just kind of standing with each other.
Well, I think that even in this episode, and we're going to see a lot more of this going forward,
Hmm.
Jin and Sun, for being one of the only married couples, one of the only real couples on the island that spend any significant amount of time on the island,
Yeah,
the majority of their time is spent either emotionally or physically apart from one another.
that's fair. Yeah, that is fair.
Like, full spoilers,
Yeah,
obviously for the show, but like Jin at the end of this season is going to get on a raft, and then he's going to spend half of next season
hmm,
not with Sun, and then him and Sun are going to get separated again when Sun goes off on missions to help Claire, and then with her pregnancy, and then Jin's going to go back in time, and Sun's going to go back to the mainland.
yeah.
Like this is their first of not breakups, but this is their first this first separation of the two of Jin and Sun in this episode.
Yeah, for sure.
I will also add, fun fact, something I did realize when I was going through and looking through all the other Quan episodes. This is the only episode that solely focuses on Jin. We never get Sun's POV in the flashbacks in this episode. We are with Jin 100% of the time,
Yeah,
which is, we never get that. It's always a two-hander between the Quans and between the Quans. Sorry.
sure. Well, we do get the one scene in the bathroom from his point of view. It's still his point of view, but we got her point of view earlier in the season. But yeah, no, you're right. It was strict. It was just from his point of view, though. Yeah.
We actually haven't got a chance to talk about this in an official capacity yet. What are
Okay.
your feelings in season one, or what were your feelings when you first watched the show about Jin and Sun specifically, both as characters and as a couple?
Yeah. I think at this point where I probably was is where we're supposed to be. I think with where we are in the show is, I don't really trust Jin yet. I definitely didn't like Jin the first season. I definitely
Mhm.
didn't. I remember not liking him much the first season. Um, even with this episode, I don't think that was enough to sway me that he was, potentially still a good person. I still felt like he was sort of just fell into that lifestyle and just couldn't get out of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Working for the father, I feel like he just kind of lost himself in his work to kind of, ignore everything else in life and things like that. And I don't think he was quite there yet. Even though we do get the scene later in the episode, which we can talk about more then, where his father says to him basically, just go, like, just run. So, but I didn't feel like he was willing to do that yet. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, definitely. But I don't feel like I don't think I felt like he was ready to do that yet at this point. So yeah, I didn't really like Jin at first. Sun, I think I like Sun by now because I think she has a good heart. She's making a lot of mistakes, but she does have a good heart.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And especially like Sun has been a big help with like she was there when Shannon had asthma and she's been helping out where she revealed to Michael that she spoke English. I agree. Like by this point in the season,
even starting the garden by herself with nobody really knowing about it, she just did it. So yeah, absolutely.
When a couple years ago, when me and my wife watched Lost, it was her first time, my like 40th time or whatever. She turned to me around this point in the season, maybe a couple episodes from now, and I was like, "Why are all the guys obsessed with Kate? Sun is doing all the work. This chick gets it." And I was like, you know what? You're so right. Sun at this point, she is like everyone. We think of like Hurley and Saeed as Jack's number twos or like shadow leaders of the 815 group. But if it wasn't for like the cultural and the language barrier for a while, I really think that Sun could have been one of the like head leaders of this group.
Oh, I think so for sure. Yeah. I mean, I think eventually we see that, but yeah, I definitely agree with you. If she would have had more to do and she wouldn't have had the language barrier in this first season, yeah, she would have easily been one of the. And I think she still is in a way, but because of the language barrier, I think is what keeps her sort of out of the main group, just enough. But they do sort of come to her, like you said, for other things. So
she'll be instrumental in the Lost Does ER episode, Deus Ex Machina, in a couple episodes, where she's going to be head nurse Kwan, which I think is great.
Yep.
But yeah, that's what my thoughts on Sun at this point. But then Jin, I don't think we understood quite how far we didn't get Jin. I don't think until now, and I don't know that we totally do yet. I think it takes a few seasons, or by the time he gets on the raft and he's like hanging out with Michael and they're like best buds now, which like what a couple episodes is gonna go for them.
Oh yeah, especially after this episode.
Yeah, like we start here and then like I think in like numbers, not numbers, but in whatever the case may be, the next Kate episode, like they're like best buds. They're Sawyer's calling them Han and Chewie. Like they just bond very quickly.
Yeah. Well, they have the unspoken language that they speak together while building the raft.
Yeah. But I think it's crazy to see Jin. The first thing we see in Jin's flashback is him like going to Mr. Pig, who maybe the worst dad in all of Lost. I know Locke's dad is going to steal his kidney and kill Sawyer's parents, but I maybe hate Mr. Pig the most.
I think so. Yeah.
Where he's like, "Oh, what's your dream?" And Jin's like, "Oh, I want to open a restaurant. I think that would be really cool. You know, I've got ambitions, don't have a lot of money, but you know, I got the spunk." Mr. Pig's like, "But what if you marry my daughter and you come work for me?" And Jin's like, "Dope, love it, want that to happen." He's like, tricked ya? That's actually not what you do. Why would you give up on your dream like that?
I do have a question about that.
Yeah.
So it feels like Sun doesn't know about her father.
Like that's one of the things that's always frustrated me about Sun.
Yeah.
I think in I am, we're just two white guys on a podcast. So,
Sure. Oh, sure.
I don't say anything that in some other cultures and stuff, there's like a lot of don't ask,
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah.
and I think that's
Oh,
part
and they're
of it.
Korean, so especially that culture for
Yeah,
sure. I do know that.
Where I feel like she knows, but it's one of those things where like the money's good, and also like she's never probably witnessed anything firsthand. She will
Oh, yeah.
post Oceanic 6, she will go to her father and be like, I know what's going on here. So she does know. And then
Well, I think she finds out afterwards, but I don't think in that moment she quite. And again, I think she probably has ideas,
now
but
I
like you
actually
said, she's never seen anything. She's not, so maybe she just thinks, okay, maybe he just buys people off or something.
I
But I
actually
don't think he's killing people.
I think actually by me thinking about it, I've already like come back around and figured out that she must know way more, because I think it's the
Really?
episode
Okay.
The Glass Ballerina where we find out Jin didn't go from marrying Sun to being an enforcer. Like he just worked in a factory for Mr. Pig for
Yes.
a while.
For a while,
And
yeah.
then Sun asks her dad for a bunch of money to pay off Jin's mom.
Oh, that's right.
And he's like, hey, just so you know, you take this money. Jin's coming and working. He's working for me. He's not working at the factory. And she seems to know what that would entail.
Right. Okay.
So she must
The reason
know
I
what's
asked is
going on.
because, yeah, no, that does make sense. The only reason I asked is because I was thinking, like, if he doesn't want her to know what he does, the worst thing he could do is make her husband his enforcer, like his like right hand man. Like that's the worst move he could make.
Well, I don't know if he's like so much saying I don't want my daughter to know, but I do think Jin maybe is coming at that because he has a line
Yeah.
later which I wrote down, which is I do whatever your father tells me. I do it for us.
For us,
and it's
yeah.
like he's
No, I remember that
trying to
line.
preserve some image, but I don't know why. Mr. Pig's a dick and does not deserve it.
Yeah.
But I think it's just a cultural thing.
Yeah,
that
oh,
comes
it's a
down
respect
to.
thing. You can't go against your boss. Yeah, no,
Not only your
absolutely.
boss, but your father-in-law.
Father-in-law. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a man of such well-renowned. Korea's. We see this in. Yep, another Quan episode. I'm terrible. I think it's and found ... and found, where Jin's working the door at a hotel, and it's
At a
very
hotel, yeah.
classist. You get like their meet cute and all that, and like there's also like a big economic pressure in Korea. So I wouldn't be surprised Jin just doesn't have the ability to even speak up against Mr. Paik.
Yeah, no.
So-
I was just more thinking of it of if he's hiding this from his daughter, that's the worst thing he could have done was
Yeah.
was have her husband as,
Yeah.
as his like thing. Like, why not just give him the money? Like, go start a restaurant, dude. Make sure my daughter's happy. Like, don't worry about what I'm doing. Like, just stay out of my business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
It is crazy where, again, he even goes so far from that line I just said is how their flashbacks kind of end. And I know it ends actually at the airport, but
yeah,
the response to Mr. Paik saying, why would I give my daughter up to someone who would give up on their dreams so easily? Jin responds, she's my dream. And it's like, they were so in love. They were so
yeah,
in
they
love.
really were. Yeah, no, they really were.
And you get to see that, and it's just through the life that he has to live because of honestly both of their actions. Like Jin at any point could have probably Jin was not a guy who was made for this life, as we see the first time he is sent to deliver a message.
Yeah,
But also, like, if Sun was just honest with Jin about his mom, then he's still working in a factory.
yeah. Well, and I don't think Jin quite knew what he was being sent there to do the first time either.
Oh, it's very clear he did not.
He had no idea because even when the dude's like, he's like, "Oh, here's the dog." He's like, "I don't want the dog, dude. Like,
Oh
just,
my god.
just don't make my boss unhappy. Like, that's all he wanted me to tell you. I don't know what the big deal is." Like, he really didn't have any idea what was going on.
I was just sent here to deliver a message.
Yeah.
Do you get the message? It's like, Yeah, I get it. Here's the dog. Thank you for the balls on that guy though. Like the environmental minister to be like, gave him a dog, closing the factory. Actually, it's like, what do you think's gonna happen?
Yeah.
You just won the lottery, dude. You conform to the gangster's ideals right now. Okay.
Yep. And then Jen even says to him, like, dude, I just saved your life. So you dude, just open up the factory tomorrow and stop playing around.
When he comes back the
playing.
second time,
Yeah.
and I didn't write down what Mr. Pake's like main assassin guy is, who's like doing the silencer on his gun.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
here's what you're gonna. He's telling Jin everything, and Jin just like storms in there before he beats the crap out of that guy. It's like, oh my god, Jin, what are
Yeah.
you gonna do? It. And he's like, he got the message. It's like, ah, no, that's the moment Jin broke bad.
Oh, for sure. Oh,
Which-
for sure. Oh, in that moment, and again, he breaks in the bathroom after he talks to his son.
I really did love getting the other side, knowing, the full length of the bathroom conversation that we saw in House of the Rising Sun, Sun's the first Quan episode, where we saw that and we were like, oh my god, Jin is terrible. What's Jin doing
Right.
to people? He's clearly, is he a murderer? What's going on? Is Sun... And then you see, like, he didn't.
Oh, I
want any
thought
of
like
this.
Yakuza or something for sure. Like definitely some type of like not literally that, but just underneath her father as being
Yeah.
like this sort of like pseudo mob boss but businessman type. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I always thought that Mr. Pake was going to be a much bigger deal than he ended up being.
Right. Yes, I agree too.
I thought there was going to be like some connection with him and Charles Whitmore eventually, where like they were
yeah.
both coming for the island, but alas.
Well, you would think too. I mean, it's powerful people. He's a pretty powerful person in his part of the world. So yeah, you would think he would be a part of that.
Yeah, but if he just doesn't know about the island, I guess he's
Well-
just a regular dick. He's not like the forces of good and evil that we'll end up getting into in this season
Yeah.
series.
Sure. Oh yeah, yeah.
If we just want to stick with in the flashbacks, because we're kind of going through that
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
now, like might as well go through all of that. What did you Sun in this episode? We only see her a couple times, but her in both being like really proud of Jin. It's like, oh, you got to go to work, but then like we see her not regression, but like how much she's been suffering, and we can kind of make the connections to her first episode of she starts the episode and is like, oh my god, it's our wedding day, this is so fantastic, oh I love it, to the end where she slaps him in the bathroom and runs out. What do you think of like Sun's journey through this episode?
Well, through this episode, I think this is supposed to make you feel the way you do about Jin. I think this is supposed to make you feel that hammer it home more that they're not ready in the show yet to make him a good guy. I think they still have maybe some plans of him not being a good guy all the way through or at some point. And
Well,
then
I
Go
can
ahead.
actually speak to that.
okay.
This was, I think, maybe it may just be like a cultural difference for us.
Sure.
But this was their moment where they were like, we are pushing Jin into tragic figure territory. Daniel Day Kim,
Makes sense.
obviously, who I love. He's a fantastic actor. I love whenever he shows up and stuff. He needs to
Right.
show up in more stuff. Prolific producer now. He doesn't do much acting these days, but he's producing so much stuff, both on Broadway and film.
Okay.
He initially only got like the first 15 episodes or whatever, because that's all you get. You get the like front half of the season and whatever. Everyone's like, okay, I'm reading through all these scripts. I like the Jin character, but I'll only sign on if we can show Jin being redeemed or set up a road to redemption for Jin in season 1, because he didn't want to
Right.
just portray the angry Asian man stereotype where he's being perceived as being abusive to his wife and
Sure.
controlling and all that stuff. So this was the moment that, and the show agreed to that day one. So this is their off-roading to him, his redemption.
I don't even know if he comes off as abusive. I just think he comes off as just sort of separated. Do you know what I mean? When it's sort of it's just emotionally he separated himself from Sun, and so he can do the things he needs to do for work, and I guess somewhat maintain a normal demeanor at home. So I never really took Jin as abusive in the sense that he was like beating her all the time or anything like that. Just that he's just like, okay, we live in this culture, like you said. This is how it's supposed to go. You're supposed to obey me and not question me. Why the hell are you questioning me all the time? Like that's kind of how I take it.
I think just because we get a lot of the POV, and this is more on island than anything, where we get like the point of view of Kate and Charlie and Michael being like, oh man, there they go at it again. Oh, what's he doing to her? Blah, and all that stuff. Which obviously I think in any lens, the way Jin on island is like being super controlling and like a little too aggressive with Sun is not great. And I think that especially with the 2020, I almost said 2021, it's 2023.
Yeah.
With our modern lens on everything, we can look at that and be like, not great behavior from Jin.
Oh, of course.
But I think there is something to say about this is a group of people who Jin, at this point, does not know that his wife speaks English. So he thinks that the two of them are truly isolated away from everyone else. And he is trying to keep her and himself safe by extension. There's also been... I forget if he knows about the affair.
Not yet. Not yet.
Oh, that's right. Juliet.
He doesn't know till they reunite later in, what was it, season 5, 4?
No. Juliet tells him about it in season 4.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah. When they're talking about whether or not to leave the island or stay, Juliet's like, Sun has to leave because that might not be your baby, Jin.
Okay. I forgot. Okay. I don't remember that. So, okay, gotcha.
We'll get to that in like 3 years.
I thought there was a moment where they reunited later and she told him about it.
No. Juliet tell.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. Because that's all. Because that's the whole point of the episode DOC and stuff is like finding out about the affair and whether or not the baby is Jay Lee or Jin's.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, Jin still doesn't even know.
Well, because at this point she's not pregnant, right?
No, she gets pregnant. I think the night that the tailies, so like Ana Lucia, Echo, all of them, the night they all show up is when they get pregnant.
Gotcha.
I believe. My dates could be wrong, but I don't know.
I got you. I just didn't think she was pregnant yet. I thought she got pregnant on the actual island, right?
She did, but there was a concern that it could have been Jay Lee's just because she was having that affair.
Yeah.
Pretty recently.
Because we're still within 2 months, right? We're still within 2 months.
Yeah, like that. I'm pretty sure it's like funeral. Like Jay Lee dies. Funeral for Jay Lee. Sun is like, I'm leaving, and then they're gone. So I think it's like 2 weeks or something.
Sure.
That 2 weeks ago that this affair was happening, but that's for way down the line. Just to like round out the flashbacks and stuff, we get to meet Jin's father, who never gets a name, which always bothers me. He's just Jin's dad.
We didn't. Do we even know their last name? Do we have it? Well, I guess we do. It's Quan, right? So Quan.
Yeah, Su Quan.
Right.
Or is it just?
It's Jin. Well, it's Jin Su, and then I think Quan is the last name.
Yeah, Quan's the surname.
Right. I think that's how it works. I might be getting it backwards, but
it's Jin. Yeah, his name is Jin Su Quan, but Quan is just the last name. And then I found for people wondering what I'm looking at, I have my Lost Encyclopedia.
Yes,
and
that's awesome.
I have Jin's page opened, and then I've earmarked The Sun
I need the Star
page.
Wars one. That's the one I want. Is the Star Wars one, man. It's like twice as thick as that though. It's
I
insane.
bet.
It's insane.
But anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, Quan's the last name. Oh, I should obviously that's what's on the cave.
What's that?
Quan, the candidate name.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So
okay, yeah.
his last name must be Quan.
Yes.
So what do you think about getting to meet his dad? We get to find out that Jin is not this like self-made man. His dad. He even mentions in I think the first scene that his father died. Clearly, he's lying about that. And then his dad is the one who says, "Go to America, save your marriage."
Yeah. I'll be honest. The my favorite part of this scene, because I love this scene. I think it's a really sweet scene with them. But my favorite part of the scene is him helping his dad,
Yeah.
because he, like you said, he was said he's ashamed of him. He said he was dead in the very beginning to Mr. Pink, and just seeing him being able to put that wall down and actually have a a real conversation with his dad, I think was really sweet. I really liked that scene a lot.
Yeah, I loved that because we've seen at this point, Jin has gone, he's delivered the message, he's had the conversation in the bathroom with the son.
Sure.
And so we've started to see, and then and we haven't even talked about on island stuff yet, but we've seen all the on island Jin where he's like a really tough, reserved guy who doesn't show a lot of emotions. And then getting to see him break down with his dad, he's like, I lied. I said you were dead because I was ashamed of you. And he's like, his dad's not like, hey man, why'd you say you were ashamed of me? He's like, I get it. But I'll never be ashamed of you, and you'll never disappoint me. I love you, son. It's like, oh my God.
It's such a sweet scene. It really is. It's so well done. I think the way they played it out was really well done. So yeah.
And I really do
loved
love that at this point we had only seen Sun. Just remind me, we've seen in Sun's episode, we see the scene at the TSA or at the like boarding agency where Jin has like the white flower and stuff. Hello, Dex. My cat just jumped up on. So
Nice.
We've seen that already. So we know, but at that point we maybe thought it was just like a nice gesture from Jin. Now we know Jin is going to America, and him and Sun have the same not the same idea, but start a new life together. And Jin, not together. Sun does until she.
Well, yeah. Yes.
But regardless, they both want to like get out.
If they would just talk, if they would ever just actually talk and have a real conversation with each other, you know what I mean?
That is the problem with Lost.
Oh yeah,
so much. There's either way too much talking and people talking way too much, or people just have to have one conversation and it solves all the issues.
But they're both so stubborn too. That's the other part of their character that is actually endearing sometimes. Is that they're both so stubborn with each other that they don't, neither one of them wants to admit their faults or, sort of say I'm sorry and just move on.
But at this point, like that scene in the airport from Sun's episode means so much more now that we're like, oh, he got the flower because he wants to save their relationship. And then, because they crashed on Hell Island, that kind of had to go on the back burner.
Yeah, well, and again, I think, like you said earlier, I think he's trying to keep her alive, which an extension keeps him alive, but separate and alive. Like, that's all he cares about is you and me are going to make it off this island. That's all he's thinking at this moment, or up until this episode. That was all he was thinking.
Yeah. I only have like one more thought about the flashbacks if you want to move on to on island stuff. And it's a silly thought.
Well, what do you got?
So in this episode, we find out how Sun gets her dog, Bopo.
Yeah.
First of all, messed up that where that dog. Second thing though, and this is the silly part.
Okay.
So that dog got so big in between scenes. Like, Jin gives it to Sun, and it's like fits in a box, is just a little puppy. And
Yes.
then I guess there were like months in between.
It had to be reshoots. It had to be reshoots, you think?
But they couldn't get another dog.
I don't know. Yeah. No, I agree because I thought the same thing. I was like, wait a minute. He just brought
What?
that dog home like last night.
What is
It
in the
was too
water
nice.
in Korea? Like, that dog's massive.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I noticed that too. I did notice that.
Well, yeah, that's my. Actually, one more flashback thought.
Okay.
Did you notice Hurley is in the flashbacks?
On the TV.
Yes. From
Is that the lottery? Is that him winning?
that's him winning the lottery.
Okay.
Which, first connection. People had a lot of. We've seen Christian Shepherd in Sawyer's flashbacks. We've seen Sawyer
Yes.
in Boone's flashbacks. But now we're seeing Hurley and Quan episodes. What's going on? Everything's topsy turvy.
No,
which-
I did catch that though. I did catch that. Yeah.
Season 1 does a really cool thing where it will plant these little seeds for whatever the next episode's going to be. So we get like Hurley on the TV here, and then also the episode ends with Hurley's Walkman dying, which sad, so sad.
I have a thought about that whole. So this show is so late 90s, early 2000s. It's insane because all of
Yeah.
those shows, House, all of those shows from that time period ended with that like poppy R&B song at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
And I love how they make fun of it a little bit with the with it dying in the middle of the song and him just being like, "Ah, shit."
Every single time, because it's not like it dies and he immediately says, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
There's like the dying sound, a beat with no noise, no dialogue, no ambient sound, and
Yep.
then oh shit. And every single time I'm like, oh fuck, my speakers blew.
Well, I like too how they put the sound effect of the disc not stopping spinning. That's just a really cool little detail. That I love that.
I am sad, rest in peace, Hurley's Walkman.
Yes.
We're gonna get some weird like slow-mo transitions to end some episodes coming up now that we don't have
Sure.
Hurley's Discman to play us out.
That's
But
funny.
but rest in peace.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know what that sound was. On Island though, what are your thoughts about the On Island storyline?
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, obviously we have the main storyline, which is the Jin, and Michael. Which to me, here's the thing: if I'm Michael or Jin, if I'm Michael, I don't think it's Jin. Because they just had this fight in public. If he goes and burns the raft, it's so obvious it's you. You can't deny that you did it at that point
but
if you actually did it.
You gotta remember, like, this is not the first run-in that Jin has had
That's
with
true.
Michael.
That's true.
It wasn't until Sawyer brought Jin back hogtied, and you got a close-up on Jin's hand that I was like, oh yeah, we're post handcuffs on Jin.
Yep. I thought the
and-
same thing. I was like, wow, he still has the handcuffs on. I was like, damn.
He doesn't get those off until like
Yeah.
well into season 2.
Yep. I hope they made like a soft one for him to have to wear.
I hope so too, because like,
Yeah.
oh man, that must have been uncomfortable if not.
For sure.
But also like Michael also earlier that day he got in a big fight with
Yeah.
Jin, and Sun slapped Jin or slapped Michael across the face. There was a lot of something I've always loved about the Quan episodes especially is because there's so much extra dialogue coming from them that has to be translated. When it's Jin or Sun talking to someone who doesn't speak Korean, it's not subtitled. We only get the subtitles when they're talking to each other,
To each other, yeah.
which I always have really liked. I did do some
And
translation.
I do like how they play with him under how he hears everything.
where it's just it's backwards and it's
Yeah, it's like all
backwards and
jumbled up.
pitched down, I think.
Yeah, but he also got a couple words. Like he got hey. Hey
Mhm.
comes through clearly. So you see also that he is kind of in his mind at least learning words or understanding certain words that
He's
they
picking
are
up
that
on
that
some
is a word.
things.
Yes, right, all right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think like that happened. And we're a couple episodes away from him getting his translation guide, which I think is just a very fun thing.
Yes,
And a
yes.
couple seasons away from Sawyer teaching Jin English, or the only 5 things a woman never needs to hear. Uh, uh,
Yes.
but
Yes.
I do like, yeah, you're right. The little bit that he gets a couple of words coming in clearly.
Hmm.
Um, I did a
And he probably
little bit
doesn't
of
even know what they mean.
translation
He
for
just knows
Jin.
their words. He just
Yeah.
recognizes those as separate words. Yeah.
Um, so
Yes,
when
yeah.
Jin is like talking to Michael, and Michael at the very beginning, and Michael's saying, "Oh, you wouldn't you better stay away from her or I'll do whatever ever to you, blah 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 blah," and then right before Sun slaps him. What Jin's saying there is, don't you, he's calling out something that you and Ben actually talked about, where
Oh, okay.
there is some chemistry between Sun and Michael, where he's like, I see the way you look at my
Oh,
wife, don't you think
really?
I, yeah, like he's calling it out, but like with all for Sun, it seems like, to just be like, hey, I know you know, I see the way he looks at you, because there is, it's
Mm,
impossible to get around the fact that Sun and Michael have a secret, that Michael
hmm.
is one of 2 people who know that Sun speaks English.
Sure.
And so there are going to be extra glances. And we've come past the Michael's run in on Sun showering, right? Like that's happened already.
Um. Wow. I know the scene you're talking about. I don't. I think so. Yeah. I think we have seen that.
Yeah. So like
I feel like we have. Yes.
there's things that have happened between Michael and Sun that
Sure.
have made the dynamic a little bit different.
Yeah.
And Jin's calling it out, and it's why later on in the episode, Sun's gonna be like, "Oh, and Michael said this," and Jin just says, "Michael," and then just like runs into the jungle, being like, "I'm gonna beat his ass."
No. Well, that makes sense too. Why Son smacked Michael then?
I think Sun says the reason Sun did it is exactly why she said she did it.
Yeah.
Where it's like, my husband is a murderer.
Yeah.
I think she's probably under the impression she knows. At this point, she knows Jay Lee's dead, and I think she
Yeah.
knows that Jin was in some way involved in that. Now, Jin doesn't eventually end up killing Jay Lee. Jay Lee kills himself, but I think Sun is at least aware my husband is capable of violence, and Michael, you're a
Yes.
person I at least care about, and I don't want to see my husband beat your, like, you're punching him. He's letting you do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's also to sort of cover her own ass a little bit. I think there's definitely a part of that, but definitely that too, for sure. Like, yeah, you don't know what he's capable of.
Yeah, I know what he's capable of. You,
Yeah.
sir, are no Korean automobile mafia or whatever he's involved in.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
that's going to lead to a couple. I think this is also the episode that officially douses these. Michael and Sun are going to have a romance potential.
Yeah, I think that's sort of been, and again, they flirt with it, obviously, but I just don't feel like they're doing anything to push it forward either. So it doesn't feel like like it's going to happen at this point now.
And what I'm specifically referring to is there's that scene where Michael is working on the raft, and Sun comes up to him and tries to explain what's happened. He's like, I don't even want to talk to you. I just want to get me and my boy off this
Yeah.
island.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of a signal to the audience, like, hey, yeah, we're not going to make them a couple.
We're not
We
doing
get it.
that anymore. Yeah, right. I got you. No, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't think it would work. And again, bias coming from some, who's seen the show and knows where it goes, but I just feel like that would work in the story that they try to tell later.
I think it would have been a terrible idea if they tried to tried
Yeah.
to pair these two off. Obviously, Michael is not going to be long for this show for reasons
Well.
outside of his control.
Yeah, right. We do
But
get to that.
and I think like eventually the Jin and Sun love story is like one of the great.
It's so strong, man.
Yeah, it's
It
so
really is. Yeah. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. That's why I don't know. Even if it was like let's say when they come back in season 2, he's still mad and they kind of hook up a few times, and then it's over at the end of season 2. I still don't think it works as even a plot twist. You know what I mean? I just don't feel like it works.
Which is why I don't know if eventually we'll get to in between season 3 and 4. There's those missing pieces webisodes, and there's one where they bring back
those. Yes.
There's one where they bring back Harold Perrineau, and him and Sun do a scene where they almost kiss, and it's like you already abandoned this. Why are you bringing it back?
Yeah, no. I just don't think they needed all of. I don't think they need it. At this point, yeah.
So later on, like that day in the episode, the raft is gonna burn.
Yes.
When you initially see the raft burning, you said that you didn't think it was Jin. Did you have any suspects?
Oh no! When it first happened, I'm sure I thought it was Jin. I'm just saying, looking at it from, stepping back and looking at it, it wouldn't make sense either that, just like I said, it would just draw too much attention to him.
Yeah.
I think. And he runs. Like, even Michael says, like, then why'd you run, dude? Like, what's the
he
point
never
of running?
gives a good reason for that.
He doesn't. No, he really doesn't. The only thing is, I think it's that reason is if he gets caught next to it trying to put it out, like she said he was doing, then they're automatically going to assume it's him anyway, even if he's trying to put it out.
Yeah.
So, maybe it's just him being like, screw it. There's nothing I can do at this point. I don't want to be caught here. So.
And I think, like, if I'm Jin, it's kind of like that old adage where, like, you find a body on the street, just turn around and walk the other way. Because, like, if you're Jin, you just had a big fight with Michael, don't even try to put it out. I get you're, like, a good guy at heart, but, like, go the other way.
Yep.
Yep. None of your business.
Honestly, too, I will say that one quick scene they have, but again, this is knowing things.
Mm-hmm.
There is that quick scene that Michael has with Walter, where I'm like, wait a minute. Because he gives him a face where he's like, don't you want to go see the buildings in New York? And Walter's like, oh, yeah, that sounds like so much fun.
So formal, Walter. Oh, my gosh.
Huh? Oh, Walter. Walter.
Doing a little Breaking Bad crossover.
Exactly. But yeah, it's just the face he gives and the way he answers that question. They do sort of let you know in that moment, but you don't catch it if you don't know it, obviously.
Yeah, and obviously they'll reveal that Walt was the arson at the end of the episode.
Sure.
So for me, I remember essentially when John Bach comes up later in the episode and is like, "There's other people on this island, and we all know it." I was like, when I first see the fire going, I'm like, it's a Jin episode, so it's not going to be Jin. You know what? I bet it was another. We just killed Ethan. They got to be coming back for him.
Oh, it's definitely a plausible situation. Yeah, I mean it makes total sense when he says it for sure.
Yeah. So a little bit.
Do you think he's covering for Walt at that point? Sorry, I was just gonna say. Do you think at that point he knows? Because he literally within minutes after that, it feels, or a few hours after that, he's confronting Walt about it. So he has to know at that point still.
He knows immediately. He says he saw Walt leave.
Oh, he did say. Okay, see, I missed that. Okay.
Which to me, I'm like, you didn't stop him, John?
Well, right, yeah, exactly.
Which I guess Walt doesn't want people to leave the island because, like, I think in a couple episodes he'll admit to Saeed that, like, I was the one who knocked you out, not Sawyer, back in the Moth, I think it was.
Right.
He's like,
right.
I don't want to get off this island, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
But I'm like, okay, so you didn't stop him. You didn't help put it out when we got there.
Mm-mm.
So why are we just blaming the others because you don't want to see Jin and an innocent man go down? Or are you because Locke is probably the person who would be most concerned, in my opinion, about the others. And he's like, hey guys, we've forgotten about the others. And I'm dealing with the hatch right now, so I can't be involved here. So you guys need to start thinking about that.
Yeah. Oh, and I think that's what he's doing. He's using this as a tool to get everybody else roused up. Like, look, we don't know who it was here. I do. You guys don't. But guess what? It was the others. Let's go attack them. You guys need to attack them. So you first, one, get away from my area where I'm at. And two, I'm too busy to deal with it.
Which, to be fair, it doesn't work. Nobody thinks about the others again. They just kind of let Jin off the hook.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's an interesting thing where it doesn't.
Well, we
work,
get the ramp
but it
up from
works
here,
exactly.
though, don't we? We sort of get that ramp up after this episode, though. Towards that,
we never even mention the others again until Exodus.
Wow, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because next week we're gonna be all about Rousseau, and then
that's true.
the week after that, and then we're into like Boone and Boone's death almost.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
Aaron's
we're
birth.
close.
So we never, nobody ever thinks about the others.
That's
they
true.
just
Wow.
exonerate Jin.
I'm just thinking because I remember, man, maybe just in my head, it just seems closer to this time period.
Well, we are only 5 episodes away from the end of the season, right? So,
Oh yeah,
so it is kind of close. Some behind the scenes stuff about the raft, not about the raft burning, more about suspicions. So it's very well documented on this show how much I hate the episode, whatever the case may be, where Kate gets her stupid little plane.
the little plane. Yes.
Hate that. A big part of that episode, and the reason that Kate is so vague to Jack, and like you see her doing all these nefarious things, both in flashback and on Island. Damon, they described as saying, the reason we did that was so she would be someone you didn't trust, both as an unreliable narrator and as a potential suspect in any crimes that were to come up. We thought it would be a great thing to do when the raft burns, per se, to have Kate be the prime suspect. We then got to the episode and realized, no, Kate wouldn't burn the raft. That's stupid. So they had set up wanting us to think it was that Kate could be a suspect, but then immediately exonerate her by having her show up with Sun.
Right. Okay. Wow. I didn't think of that, but that would make sense that she would be the one of all people you would think, right, would not want to get off the island for sure.
Yeah. And I think Sawyer will say something like that, where she's got nothing to go back to. Why are you trying to get off this island so bad? A few episodes.
Yeah. Well, because she eventually tries to buy her way on. Yeah.
We're supposed to not trust Kate, but also the writers have realized Kate's not burning the raft. So that's why they have Sun and Jin are Sun and Kate are having like a secret little conversation when the raft first starts burning. Which I gotta say also, first person on the scene to put out the fire, my man Saeed Jarrah. Number 1.
Dude, he's everywhere. I love Saeed. Yeah, I agree. I love Saeed.
Shadow leader of 815. Like, the doctor is in, but Saeed is the man of the people.
I agree, man. I definitely agree. I really love him, especially in this season. So far, man, he really shines in this season. He really does.
Do we want to just like talk about just in the middle here, just do like the whole Saeed and Shannon and Boone situation? Because that's kind of the beast story of this episode.
Sure. Yeah,
but it's really only like 2 scenes.
Yeah, it's not much. But I think it's cool how Saeed is like, I'm not asking for your permission. I'm just making sure we're not beefing. Like, that's really all I care about.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not asking for your permission, though, so don't get it. Like...
But he does get scared off by Boone when he goes and asks Boone. He's like, me and your sister are going to become more than friends.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then Boone's like, she's just using you. And then Saeed kind of goes back to Shannon and is like, oh, maybe you want to find someone else to help you fix your tent. I'm sorry.
Yes.
He does get scared.
Yeah,
off
there is a
little
little bit of that for sure. Yeah.
But until
No, definitely. You see that.
Locke of all people sets Shannon straight with a great line where Shannon runs in to yell at Boone, only finds Locke.
Dude, Locke is the best manipulator in the world.
Yeah.
Like, he literally is the best manipulator in the world because he's already turned Boone. Now he's turning Shannon against Boone.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's what all great manipulators do, where they isolate their prey. Where I love everything that Locke says in that exchange. Where first Shannon starts ranting at him with a bunch of demands to tell Boone, and John just looks up and is like, "Should I be writing this down?"
Yeah. Oh, it's a great line. It's a great line.
And then it's like, "Do you like Sayid?" And I always think there's gonna be a follow up there where he's like, "And I mean like Sayid," and I'm like, "Ooh,
Yeah.
John Locke, what a little schoolgirl."
I know. It is a funny moment. It is.
All while he's gutting a rat.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he's got the two just hanging out from the tree on the side.
Yeah, and then he's got like a blood on his cheek, and it's like, ugh, gross.
It's weird. Yeah, it's a weird moment, but it's
John,
funny.
so good in that scene where he's like, who? Maybe like the kind of the thesis of the whole show, which is everyone gets a second life on this island. It's time you start living yours. To Shannon.
Yeah.
And it's like, so
And he's
good.
not, and he's not actually wrong. That's the other part about John is he's not actually wrong either.
No.
So even if he is manipulating, he's still actually giving good advice too. Being manipulative with it.
Well, like of all people to say you get a second life, it's funny. John Locke will literally be given a second life. Not his second life, but a person who looks very much like him will get John Locke's second life as Smokey McSmokerton takes up his form.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. No,
And then
I do like the little scene with them though, but yeah, it's just I don't think Sayid cares one way or the other either. He only cares about Shannon. That's it. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about anybody. Like, he's not. But like you said, I think him just saying to him like, yeah, but she's just gonna wait until she's done with you, and then she'll be done. Then you're done. Like, that's all she cares. Whatever she can get out of you, she's gonna get, and then you're done. I think that's what makes him sort of step back.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think Sayid, he's a hard on his sleeve romantic, so it makes sense that he would be turned off by what Boone said. But then when Shannon comes back at the end and is like, let's go make out, or let's go find out what we can do with those knots that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Oh man, she's a freak, isn't she?
I know, right? It's like, what weird. I love that we kind of get to see Island flirting in season 1 a lot, where it's just like they're just talking about knots. It's like, oh my god, I should not be listening to this. This is far too sensual.
Well, also there's, you know what I'm thinking about now too. He's been through a lot relationship wise.
Yeah.
So any perceived like drama or like, this might not work out, I might get my heart broken, might be just a red flag in his head, just saying, nope, don't do it, man. You've been through too much, Yeah. There could be a lot of that too. So,
and you got to remember, in the timeline of Lost, I have the days. I always have the days up here in my notes just to kind of keep track of where we are.
Sure.
This whole episode happens between day 32 and day 34.
Okay.
So within a month and a couple of days, Sayid had his best friend kill himself in front of him so that Sayid could get to Nadia.
Yes.
It's like, this guy's been through a lot very quickly.
Sure.
So I think it totally makes sense that once he hears like, oh, Shannon might be drama, no thank you. But then when Shannon comes and kisses him, he's like, oh, but I'm horny.
Well, yeah, that too, of course. I mean, I'm a good guy, but I'm still a guy.
But come on.
Come on. Come on.
We're on an island.
Funny.
We kind of touched on some of the other Jin Sun stuff where they're running through the island and Jin's running through the
Yes.
forest trying to get burn cream. Sawyer eventually captures him and Michael beats the crap out of him. But then we get to, which is like a theme of just like Michael, and no shade to Harold Perrineau, not great at stage fighting. I never believe when he throws a punch.
Fair enough.
You know?
Fair enough.
Not in this episode, not the last time they fought, not in Baz Luhrmann's Romeo plus Juliet. I just never believe that Harold Perrineau is throwing a punch.
That's funny. That's funny. Here's a question, though. With all the pent-up anger on this island, why is there not an underground fight club in the woods? Where they all just meet up at night and just
Well, we
go,
don't know what the Gawkers, the non-core cast are doing. They could be having a fight club. We don't know.
It's true. That is
But
true.
our main cast, when you think about it, like something crazy is happening to them every other day.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we're 17 episodes in, and like I said, we're on day 34, so that's a crazy day every 2.5 days has happened.
And they've already gone through a kidnapping and murder. I mean, just
Several
all kinds of
murders?
stuff. Yeah, it's like
Joanna
crazy.
died, rest in peace.
Yeah, like they've gone through a lot in 30 days for sure.
Yeah, so I
For
think
sure.
just everyone's just like, woof, let's just, you know what we need? We need therapy. Everyone just sit down
Right.
and talk.
Well, another great scene in this, which I don't think we've talked about yet, is that Hurley and Jin scene where Jin's hitting the rocks, and Hurley comes up and is like, "Hey, man, you just want to go for dude? Just kind of relax. Like you've been kind of stressed out, man. Like." And he's like, "All right, suit yourself, dude." Like,
Yeah.
but he tries to reach out and just be like, "Hey, man, like we can't talk. I get it, but let's just go sit by the water and fish, man." Like,
I think that's so fantastic that
It's
Hurley
Hurley.
does
It's
that.
yeah,
And it's really more, and I know they haven't decided that eventually, at this point, they do not know Hurley is going to be the man in charge at the end of it. But this is one of those
Sure.
amazing things that with a full view of the show, you can look back and be like, yeah, obviously Hurley is the right guy for the job.
yeah.
He
And I always felt that way. I
Yeah.
always did, just because of like this little scenes like this with him that you get throughout the whole show, where he's just trying to be genuine. That's all he ever is trying to do is just be genuine.
For sure.
Yeah.
And we don't get a lot of Hurley in this episode because obviously we're going to get a lot more of Hurley in the next episode. But those moments we get with him are just so good.
They are. I agree. I agree. Even the scene, we'll get to it later when it happens, but the van.
Oh,
Just
yes.
them laughing together and just having fun. It's just always Hurley is always around for those moments. He's always the one that sort of is the catalyst of those moments.
Hurley is probably, after Sawyer, Hurley is probably Jin's best friend on the island.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, maybe
Yeah.
Michael. Actually, weirdly, Michael might be his other best friend.
No, that's true.
But like Hurley and Jin are going to do some crazy stuff together where they're going to fix the van. They're both going to be on the camping expedition with Desmond where they find Naomi. Hurley is going to be one of the only people to cry about Sun and Jin dying.
Sure.
Hurley's going to be the only person to visit Sun in Korea post Oceanic
That's
6.
a good point. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Like
absolutely.
Hurley loves Jin and Sun, so
Yeah.
this is just one of the things. And just a couple episodes, let's not forget, Hurley was trying to like get his honor back from Jin because he rejected his food that one time. And he
Oh,
was
that's
telling him
right.
he's
Yeah.
gotta-
Oh, that's yeah. Yeah.
He's like, you got to pee on my foot.
Yeah. 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 I do
Like
love that.
these
That's a
two
good
are
scene.
already starting to build a bond, which I really like.
Sure. And again, yeah, it just speaks to like Hurley can just be friends with anybody. Like he can just be because he's like, again just so genuine. He just
Yeah.
comes at everything so genuine. So it's so easy to love the guy.
So easy to. Everybody loves Hugo.
Yes,
Is that next week's episode? I think that might be next week's numbers.
it's numbers. It's
yeah.
when he wins the lottery, right?
Yeah. But there is an episode called Everyone Loves Hugo and Everyone Hates Hugo.
Yeah, is that the one where he thinks it's the curse?
Yeah, no, that's Numbers.
Oh, that is Numbers. Is
Yeah,
that
that is
Numbers?
Numbers. Yeah,
Oh,
well,
okay.
that's kind of like a through line through all of her.
Well, yeah.
Uh,
Fair.
Stuff except for like Dave, but we'll get to Dave when we get to Dave.
Okay.
So this is a big episode for like moving the story along, also because like this is the episode where the rest of the cast, including Jin, finds out that Sun speaks English. What do you think of the idea to reveal that to the cast as a whole?
So, I think, at least the way the story goes, this makes the most sense. It's very organic. It doesn't feel forced. I guess is the best way to. Like it feels like she would have to say something at this point. Well, here's a point where she has to say something. This is it.
Yeah.
Like there's no other short of like Michael on top of him strangling him literally to death. This is the only other thing that could happen where she has to say something.
Speaking of like to death, by the way.
Okay.
Saeed. We've talked a lot of great stuff about him.
Sure.
But him, when Michael, in the final like confrontation between Michael and Jin, there's a moment where Jack tries to step in the middle. And Saeed is the guy who's first Sawyer says, "This doesn't concern you, Doc."
Yeah.
And then and then Saeed's like, "No, this is between them." And it's like, what? Saeed calling for blood. Like
he did. Well, yeah, no, he did. But I think that's a fair. I think it's a fair point. I think it's a fair point because, again, short of them literally trying to kill each other, how much can you really get in between two men having a disagreement? I mean, especially over one of their wives, at least from his perspective. So
yeah,
you kind of almost have to be like, yeah, man, just let them kind of duke it out, and hopefully this ends after this. Like, hopefully this is the end of this crap.
This fight also, by the way,
each other.
Was another point where I did a little bit of translation to figure out what Jin was actually saying to Michael.
Oh, and he's talking some shit in those.
He's
in that
not
part.
Actually.
Oh, really? Oh,
he's
really?
Saying,
okay.
He's trying to tell him what happened. He's like, "I know you won't understand this, but I did not burn your raft. It was burning when I arrived. I tried to put it out. I'm sorry about your boat." And he's just saying that over and over.
Okay.
The way Daniel Day Kim delivers it, though, it sounds like, "Oh, I'm gonna beat you up. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take your life."
It sounds like he's talking shit. Like go ahead, whatever you gotta do.
It sounds way more sinister than it needs to be. But he's literally just saying, "I didn't do it, guy. I don't know why you're mad."
That's got to be direction, though. That has to be. They wanted that emotion to come out.
Yeah.
That's what they wanted you to think. Yeah.
And I also think in 2005, Google Translate is not so readily available. Less people.
That's definitely true.
Less people are doing what I did, so they're like, but say this because it will sound scary.
Sure.
And Daniel Day Kim's probably like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." I get that scene where I cry in the bathroom, so I got to show my soft side.
Well, that's like, isn't there something about like even in older movies, they would have people speak Japanese just because it sound like the way Japanese people say the word, it sounds like meaner or like more intimidating.
I've never heard that about Japanese words, but I have heard that about Germans, where there are certain words
sure they do that.
Obviously, the joke is always like, you can only.
Oh, they always sound like they're giving a world-ending speech, like a world domination speech.
Yeah,
it's so funny.
I've never heard that about like Japanese or Korean, but maybe, I don't know. I don't pretend like I know
it's
a lot
just the
about
way.
Lost, but...
and again, it's a cultural thing. You know, some cultures it's just the way they say certain things or the way they inflect different syllables. So
yeah. So we kind of end the episode after all this, after all the reveals have been done, and right before we go into the final musical montage with Michael being like, "I'm going to rebuild. I'm going to do it. I'm going to build a new boat. I'm trying to set a good example for my son who burned the raft." But I don't know that yet.
Then you know what? This is another funny thing actually that happens in this scene. The little asshole was like, "Oh, Dad, I'll help you out now." Like, "Oh, you little son of like you little."
I knew Walt burnt the raft, But I thought, oh, that scene where Walt confronts him about it, that happens later. That must happen in like What Kate Did
Yeah.
or Born to Run or something like that. That happens way down the road.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it happened now. So when I see
Yeah.
it, I'm like, who do you think you are, sir? Do you
Right.
just like hanging out with your dad?
It's weird, man. It's so weird. It's just a
Or
weird way
s-
because it's like I burnt the brass because I don't want to leave. But hey, I'll help you build the next one.
So, hey, we
What?
had fun building it though, didn't we?
Yeah,
It's like if I just burn everything, it'll be fine.
yeah, yeah. The time to burn it is when R says you got to go now or never.
Yeah.
That's the time to burn the actual. That's the actual time to do it.
Well, at that point,
You're
he
gonna do
wants
it.
to leave.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. True.
But the episode ends with Jin and Sun parting ways, and Jin being like, "It's far too late for us." When Sun says, "You can't get back. Can't we go back to the beginning?" And Jin's like, "It's too late for that," which we know because we see the scene with his dad. He's like, "No, we can't go back to the beginning. I've fallen too far. Like I feel terrible that you had to learn English and kept that from me. Like I'm a bad guy." But Sun thinks, "Oh man, I've disgraced him so much."
Right.
And then he goes, and he just is like, he looks at Michael and is like, "Boat." And I always like that, but I always think there's like one of those things where if the scene carried on for 2 more seconds, Michael, who probably still at some level believes Jin built the boat, is running at him being like, no, 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 no. You don't help build boat. And then there's a
Right.
funny little exchange where he's just like, boat? And there's like, no boat, boat, no boat.
I don't know. I don't know. It would have been funny though, because I could definitely
Yeah.
see him being like, "Nah, like okay, maybe you didn't do it, but I don't want you anywhere near my boat. I still don't want you anywhere near it."
Yeah, and even
So-
by like 2 episodes from now, they'll be so close that Sun will poison the wrong person's water. So they gotta.
Yes. Very interesting episode too. Actually, I think that's a really good episode.
Oh man, really? I think. Oof, I do not.
You don't like that one?
No, that's the Kate. That's the next Kate flashback, right? That's Born to Run.
Oh
right?
well, it might be, but I like the island story. I guess from that episode.
I guess so. I think it has a.
Yeah. I don't know what
not
the
great-
flashbacks are.
The flashbacks are the origins of that stupid little plane.
I was gonna say, is it the hospital scene?
Yeah, with Diane
Or the
Janney.
Yeah. Yes.
Not
okay,
Diane Janney.
okay.
What's her name?
Her mom, right? Kate's mom.
Yeah, her mom. What's that?
Yeah. I don't
Sabrina.
know her name.
Diane
Yeah,
Jansen? No, that's not it.
No, it's the younger one, right?
Yeah.
From that show.
I don't
The
remember.
fun one. I know who you're talking about though, yeah.
Anyway.
I just like I also because that's also the reading the glasses episode too, right? Isn't that the same episode?
No, the glasses episode comes in the same episode that Boone and Locke find the Beechcraft. That's the like fun B plot to John Locke is carrying a almost dead Boone through the forest.
Okay,
The side story of that is, but Sawyer needs glasses. Da, da, da,
Gotcha.
da, da, da.
Okay. I thought that was the main storyline and then the B was the glasses in that episode. The
that-
poisoning was the main
I think we're like,
yeah, again, it's been a long time, so I'm easily
We'll get there.
confusing stuff for sure. I'm confusing stuff for sure.
that's all right. I have a question for you about like the final montage of the episode and like
Okay.
what the episode wants us to think.
Okay.
So the episode ends with like we're seeing all these couples coming together. We're seeing Saeed and Shannon making out, Charlie and Claire looking at the water, Jack and Kate laughing about a fish or something. Jin's bringing wood to the boat, and Sun's taking her towel off and going into the water in the bikini that Jin didn't let her wear at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are we supposed to? Because I feel like the whole episode builds up Jin as like we're supposed to feel some sympathy for Jin, and we're supposed to feel like, you know what, Jin's right about this and stuff. But then the end of the episode is like, actually, this is Sun like reclaiming her power, and
Yeah.
this is, and I am all for that. And like I've said, Sun's one of my favorite characters. I
Sure.
love Sun so much. I'm just confused by what the show wants us to think.
Yeah, and again, that's why I don't know, because it does at the end of this episode still feel like Sun is the one that came out on top, like you just said. Like she's the one that is getting her power back, and she's the one that sort of liberated herself. Even though she does want to try still with him, he is the one that ultimately walks away.
Yeah.
And until we know more things about what, their relationship and what happened, he does look just like the guy that's being like, yeah, I'm not willing to keep this going with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, he does still kind of like the bad guy thing at the end of the day.
It's interesting. I've always been confused about what they want me to think at the end of this episode, but maybe we just don't know.
Sure. Well, and again, I still think, and with what you said earlier about him not wanting to do the role unless they did it, I'm sure that is still part of the plan, but it still feels like at this point they still want to like hammer it home. This is a bad guy. This is a bad guy. Eventually we'll get there, but this is a bad guy. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
Can I say, obviously we've been going for a while. Probably wrap up soon. Can I say though, this episode has one of my favorite Jack lines ever.
Okay.
Where he doesn't get a lot of lines in this episode, but when the raft is burning, Sawyer is like, well, who else could, when people are talking about like, it was Jin. Jack's like, we don't know it was Jin. And Sawyer says, who else could it have been? And Jack just looks at him, does like one finger point. He's like, shut up, Sawyer. It's like, I'm done with your shit.
That's funny.
And then
I didn't catch it. So yeah, it's funny.
He doesn't actually say like, I'm done with your shit. He just says, shut up, Sawyer. And it's so funny every time I see it, because then later, after Sawyer's hogtied Jin, he's brought him out for the public. Maybe that's why there's no fight club. Like every other day, there is a fight on the beach and that the Gawkers get to watch. So like maybe that's why there's no fight club.
That's what I'm saying. There has to be fights happening all the time.
But in that same exchange where Saeed gets the no, this is between them, where Sawyer says, this doesn't concern you, Doc, Jack gets to throw it back. Jack then throws it back again and was like, stop, Sawyer. But then Saeed's like, no, this is between them. And then Jack relents and listens to Saeed. But this is just an episode of Jack being like, I hate you. You are the worst.
Exactly. That's funny. Yeah.
He only gets a few lines, but they're all directed at being mad at Sawyer.
Well, everybody hates Sawyer at this point still. Yeah, at this point, everybody still hates Sawyer.
Yeah, probably except for Kate.
Except for a couple people, yeah. There's still a couple people that Hurley will never hate Sawyer either.
I don't know, man. He's going to like...
He gets mad at Sawyer, but Hurley doesn't hate anybody. He just can't hate. That's fair. Yeah, that's all I mean by that. Yeah.
I think next episode, is it next episode where Sawyer or Hurley just beats the crap out of Sawyer, or is that down the road still?
What's that? Sorry.
Oh, where Hurley just starts beating up on Sawyer. Or that might be a season 2
we haven't
thing.
got to that yet. No, I was gonna say I know we get the one where he's mad at Sawyer earlier in this season, but I don't remember him beating him up yet. I think.
Oh, you know what? No, that is season 2. That's when Sawyer is making fun of Hurley for having a crush on Libby.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I remember that. Okay, now I do remember that. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Which,
now, yeah.
To bring it back to the Kwans, is great because that's right after Jin and Sun have reconnected, and they're watching there just laughing, being like, and then Jin does like a very casual jog up to pull Hurley off of Sawyer. It's like, look at these guys. They're fighting.
Man.
Remember when I
This
used to
was
get
a
in
good
fights?
episode, though, man. This was a good episode, man.
This was, and I think this might be my favorite Jin and Sun episode.
It's fair. It's definitely fair.
And
good one.
I love Jin and Sun, but this is so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Sets up a lot of great stuff, builds on a lot of great stuff, and I think it does what Lost will ultimately do best, which is show us that everyone kind of sucks, but everyone's also good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's what it always is. Everybody sucks, but everybody's kind of good too. Everybody's kind of good too.
Yeah.
Except for
like-
Hurley. Hurley's the only one that really, I feel like, is the most consistently good.
Yeah, I would be hard pressed to think of like terrible thing. Like Hurley has some manslaughter in his past, obviously.
Sure.
And I don't know though if Hurley ever does anything with like malice in his heart. So
Right. And that's kind of what I mean by that is that he's made a lot of mistakes and he's done things that probably aren't the best things to do, but again he just comes from everything so genuine that that he really just believes that's the right thing to do in the movie. He's not trying to hurt anybody if he does.
Yeah.
That's just kind of what has to happen. It's unfortunate, but yeah, no, I agree with you. He doesn't ever come at anything with like hate or malice. Yeah, that's a good word.
Never.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's everything, right? Did we get through everything?
Oh, that's everything I've got. Really good episode. Love talking about it, and we're in a string of good ones because I'm really excited to talk about numbers next week.
This one I'm interested in rewatching for sure. I'm definitely interested in rewatching this one for sure because this is the beginning of when. Well, this is. I remember for me especially, this episode was like, oh wait a minute, this dude has like millions of because the whole thing, the whole running joke throughout the so far is the him and Walt thing. You know that he owes him like $86,000,
$83,000.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a great line in this episode where Walt is telling that to John, and John's like, "Well, I'll play back in with you. I don't have $83,000.
Yeah, I got $80,000, but I'll play you. Yeah, no. So when this is revealed, I just remember thinking like, oh, okay, now all that makes sense.
We will get into it next week, but also
Sure.
The Hurley. There's a reason why multiple people have had multiple flashbacks already, and Hurley has not had one yet. I already have for this episode. I had 1.5 pages of notes. I already have 2 pages of notes for next week, and I have not watched the episode yet.
Oh shoot. Okay. All right. So next week, guys, we will have a 3-hour episode. So just be
no. Save that for Exodus.
No, I'm joking. No, I don't mind it if we go long either, honestly, because I do enjoy talking about it. So it never bothers me going long on these because you always have so many fun things too. So I want to learn all this stuff. So
I'll try to have more fun stuff going forward. I feel like I've had 2 light weeks of in terms of BTS stuff.
Oh well, you said there's just not a lot on these episodes. So I mean, it happens.
Next week, coming back with a vengeance.
All right, man. Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, that is our episode. Dave, let everybody know where they can find you, man. It's great having you back. And again, just looking forward to keep doing these shows together.
Yeah, I'm always love coming and talking Lost with you. Love doing this in tribute of our good friend Ben.
Absolutely.
And you can find me over on Northern Entertainment Group, part of the Beniverse channel collaborators.
Absolutely.
Here, where you can find me every Tuesday on Have You Seen This, the show where we talk about all the latest and greatest in TV news, TV recaps, things like that. Sometimes we just did our 2022 awards show, talking about our best actors, best actresses, best TV TV shows. Daniel cheated and included something that's not a TV show. Go watch to be mad about that. But yeah, catch me there every Tuesday at 8 Eastern. And then here whenever this show airs. I don't know. I'm not in charge of this one.
It's all good.
Also, keep it tuned to Northern Entertainment Group, as I will be bringing back next month the Northern rankings, or rankings of the North. I forget what I called that show. The show where you, the audience, get to help determine the order and ranking of different things. We're going to start our year-long process of ranking the MCU. Not actually a year long, but it's just going to be a lengthy process.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a lot of movies.
A lot of
a lot of everything.
It's gonna be a couple episodes, not one episode thing. Maybe one a month.
For sure. Awesome, yeah, guys. So you can find me right here on the Multiverse on the Facebook page. You can find me on Twitter at Jedi Master Tuck. Again, yes, please check out the Benverse guys. We have a bunch of different channels over there that all came together. Also, Galaxy Geeks, I believe, is going to be joining us too, right? I
believe so.
I believe we talked about that. Also, guys, again, oh no, we got to get you in there. Again, journey to 1,000 subscribers, guys. We are trying to get to 1,000, so please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell down there for us. But yeah, guys, we had a great time talking about this episode. Dave, can't wait to talk about next episode numbers with you, and we will see you guys next week.
See ya.